We are April and Scott, creators of NaughtyGym.com, and this is The Naughty Gym Show.
For years, we've been fitness and nutrition coaches to thousands of people through our commercial gyms and online platform. We've also spent nearly a decade in an ever-evolving open relationship.
This show brings together two of our biggest passions, fitness and sex positivity. Our mission is to maximize the physical and mental health of anyone brave enough to explore relationship structures that run counter to societal norms.
We have demolished our old ways of thinking about relationships, and from that rubble, built a life full of happiness, adventure, and vitality. And now we want to help you do the same.
So hop on the treadmill, start the show, and let us teach you how to never stop playing. Welcome back to the Naughty Gym Show. I am your host, April, and this is my sidekick, Scott.
We've been saving that one too.
Yeah. We are an online fitness and coaching platform, but we are more than that, just that. We are a sex positive community where we host weekly lives. We have ladies and a men's chat group. We are a community to support you on your non-monogamy journey, or whatever that journey is, your sex positive journey. It can be LGBTQIA+, it can be kink, BDSM, polyamory, swinging, whatever that looks like. We are here to support you. We do community events. We have a kayak trip coming up this Saturday, July 20th for the week of non-monogamy visibility. And
we've got a local meet and greet coming up.
Yep, August 23rd and 24th, Mixology.
Yeah, it's called Mixology. And I say meet and greet, that's probably not the right word. It's a party.
Well, it is. There is a meet and greet there. So Friday, the 23rd is we kick off. We have several events going on, but that night is a free meet and greet at Stella's Elixir Lounge in Huntsville, Alabama at 8:30 p.m. That's free to anybody. So if you can't make all of the other activities that weekend, you can still join us for the meet and greet.
And there's a lot of fun activities too.
Yeah.
It's not just the party and the meet and greet.
Yeah, the next night is the big party day, but we've got speed dating, we've got small connection groups, we've got an actual mixology class that we'll be doing, and then the big grand finale party at the Blind Tiger on Saturday, the 24th. You can go to the show notes, click on the link, and get your tickets. They're selling quick.
All right, so this is a big episode for us. This has been in the process for a long time, really. We had put on hold the idea of separate dating for a pretty good while. And then out of the blue, it came up again 8 days ago. The idea came up again. And
well, no, it's been a little longer than that because we opened our field apps up a couple months ago.
Well, I know, but the actual a person came on the radar.
Right, right.
So 8 days ago, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but April set up her first what we would call true separate date, even though we did this with some very good friends of ours one time, but that was easy because they were friends. This was April's first ever date. So since that time, 8 days ago, we had another friend that suggested that daily we do little short videos each day, separate from each other, leading up to the date, talking about our thoughts and emotions.
Right.
All right. It's a very interesting psychological peek into how we work as a couple that you're about to listen to, but we're going to let you hear those videos. Mine's total is probably like 7 or 8 minutes long. April's is like...
Actually, what our friend said, she said, do like little 30-second clips. And if you know Scott, he can't say anything in 30 seconds.
Not possible.
I think some of mine were like 15 seconds.
April's total video length, if you combine them all, is probably less than 2 minutes. And mine goes on for about 10. But it may be a little bit tough to listen to because I get pretty emotional kind of during my videos, but we're going to talk through the results of what you're going to hear about an argument that we had. And we're going to really talk through that here. And then for the first time, I'm going to hear how her date went because it ended 10 hours ago.
Yeah.
And I miraculously, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, have resisted the temptation to ask her how that date went and get any details because we wanted to do it live on the show here. So I think I know how it went a little bit, but I really don't know any details. And so I'm going to find out right along with all of you.
So first, you're going to listen to our thoughts leading up to this date. Enjoy.
Here we go. Okay, we just got back from dinner with a friend of ours who's a therapist, and they gave us a great idea that we're going to record our, April and I are going to record our thoughts and emotions about something that's coming up soon. In 6 days, April will go out on her first separate date with somebody we don't know. And I do not have a date lined up yet. And so it's going to be an interesting thing to see her go out on a date while I have nothing going on. But it's been a topic we've been talking about for close to a year. And I think that although I was extremely nervous about that at first, I've warmed up to the idea, and I'm actually very excited for her to go on this date. And the guy is asking her to kind of be the dominant one in this relationship if it goes to anything sexual. And as of today, 6 days from the date, I'm excited for her. We'll see if things change.
Okay, so I am 6 days out from my first separate date. It's actually a guy that I connected with over a year ago on Field. And then I kind of got cold feet. He's very good looking, a little bit younger. And so I've reconnected with him and we set a date for this coming Sunday. So I'm incredibly nervous, but I'm also still in that stage where I'm like, maybe I'll cancel, maybe I won't, I don't know. In this situation, all my insecurities start to like bubble to the top. Like, is he going to be attracted to me in person? Is all that kind of stuff. So a little bit nervous.
I woke up about 6 a.m. this morning and my brain immediately starts thinking about it. And it's been maybe an unusual past 36 hours or so because April seems to have kind of gone a bit silent about this whole thing. And I'm trying not to ask her questions too much because I know she also has a tendency when we start getting closer to a big event or something to get in her head a little bit. And I don't want to ask a bunch of questions and it start feeling like pressure somehow to her. But I'm also dying to know. I don't even know if really she's had any communication with this guy over the past 24 hours. My guess is, knowing her, she probably hasn't had much, if any. I don't know. But yeah, it's got me in my head a little bit because I told her that, that there wasn't really any rules. She could communicate as much or as she wanted to, as long as it wasn't, or that if it started becoming too much communication, I'd say something, like, hey, you're taking too much time with this. But that's definitely not happening. I haven't really seen her messaging. So I think the problem with some of that is because I don't really know what's going on, I start filling in the gaps with silly stuff. So I'm currently 4 days out from my separate date and I'm getting excited. Honestly, the way I handle these is I just try not to think about it until the day of, because I tend to overthink things, which will make me anxious. And then I can totally rationalize myself backing out of it. So mostly him and I have not been texting much, which is fine with me. I'm just looking forward to being face to face and being able to ask the questions that I want to ask and get to know him a little bit better. That's where I'm at today. Okay, it's Thursday morning. We're about 4 days away from April's big date. I still feel pretty good about the whole thing, at least as far as my emotions go. But I did finally crack yesterday and ask her if there had been any communications, were they talking, that sort of thing. Because by the time I asked, it had been about 48 hours or so since she and I had discussed the topic at all. And she told me there hadn't been much communication. She sort of briefly skimmed through the communication they had, read a couple of the comments, and it really hadn't been much. But I did tell her that I'd like for her to keep me a little more updated, because when she goes quiet like that, I sort of fill in that silence with, my own emotional guesses. So she understood that. But I am a little concerned that she doesn't seem to be all that excited about this. So I want this to be something that's a great experience for her. I can't tell if she's looking forward to it or not. So we'll see how this goes. It's Friday. We're 2 days away from April's date, and really not much to say. She is still not really talking about it at all. She did happen to mention yesterday that she's listened to some BDSM Dom type podcast and didn't say much else. So my guess is she's still not really communicating much, but if she is, she's not talking to me about it, and I'm still resisting the temptation to read her messages. You know, we have a kind of an open book policy on those types of things, even though the messaging with him is separate. It almost feels weird to me, like I would be going into my kid's room and reading their diary or something. So I don't know, that's a little strange because I should feel free to read it, and I do. You know, she's made that clear, but I'm just resisting the temptation. So well, it's Saturday. April's big date is tomorrow, I assume. I have no idea. Even though Wednesday, this past Wednesday, I sort of did what I didn't want to do, which is mention to her that, you know, I'm a little uncomfortable with her not keeping me in the loop with what's going on. And I suspected there wasn't much to report, but that, you know, if there's not a lot to report, I wanted to tell me that. So since then, there has still been no conversation about it. Yesterday was surprisingly devoid of any talk, even though we were 2 days away. Today is the day before. I don't know if they've made plans. I don't know what time they're supposed to be meeting, what city they're supposed to be meeting. I think it's going to be Huntsville. I don't know what they're supposed to be going to do. I don't know if they know what they're supposed to be going to do. So that part has been bothersome. Now, I know she is just not the person to leave me out of the loop maliciously, but it is so strange, especially since I directly asked, that she still has had no conversation with me about it. And my guess is she has mixed emotions about whether she even wants to do this date, which is fine. I wish she would tell me that. But I can't imagine that she's really excited about it and not talking to me at the same time. So yeah, I'm just kind of struggling with how to, you know, I want to be on this journey with her, but I'm not part of it right now. So
today is the day of my date. I'm excited. I'm not nervous at all, surprisingly, but this is a different dynamic than what I was anticipating my first date being. This is not like a romantic chemistry type date. He is a submissive and he's looking for a dom sub type relationship. I think I would make a darling dom. So it just piques my interest and my curiosity. I have a lot of questions to ask him today, to see if that would even be a role that I would feel comfortable stepping into or responsibility that I would want to take on. So I'm looking forward to that, learning more about that world and what his background is, what his history with being a submissive is, learning about some of the other DOMs he may have had. Just a lot of questions. I think it will be really interesting.
okay, it's the day of April's date, and it's going to be a dinner date, but I'm not sure that they've finalized the time yet. But fortunately for me, my pickleball league match got scheduled yesterday. I got word that my match was going to be tonight, starting at 6:30. So that kind of works out perfectly to give me a couple hours where my mind will be hopefully focused on pickleball and not her date. Yesterday, I probably didn't handle the situation very well. And just being frank with everybody, April and I had our second ever real fight, and it got really heated. And I think we would both say we had some blame in it in the way we handled it. and it was just really over how we've communicated through this whole process. And I thought she was going to cancel the date as soon as the argument started. I thought that was going to be the end of it, and I didn't want that. But what I love about our relationship is we've been together now 8 or 9 years, whatever it is, and legitimately that's the second fight, lifestyle or otherwise. Both the fights have been lifestyle related. But as heated as it got, we actually worked through it in about an hour from start to finish. And this was a fight that had yelling and maybe some light name calling. And within an hour, we had thoroughly apologized, realized where we both had made our mistakes, and moved on and went and had a fantastic evening with some good friends of ours. So that kind of stuff is, I treasure that, knowing that even in the worst moments, in the most pressure-filled, gut-wrenching situations, we will listen to each other through the anger and get on the other side of it.
So I am currently on my way to my date, and I'm excited. I thought he was going to ghost me today because he had gone out late with his friends to celebrate his birthday. And anyways, he had a late night, and I didn't really hear any firm details for a plan until 5 o'clock this evening. And it is currently 6:30 and I'm heading there, and it's an hour drive. So we're meeting in the middle. He's from Nashville. So, I'll keep you posted.
Hopefully now we're going to get to the episode and find out what happened on the date, because I don't know yet.
And we're back. So it's difficult for me to listen to that a little bit. It was a little triggering.
Yeah. I can imagine, given what all has transpired.
Yeah.
And listening to your videos was exactly what I
anticipated
probably was going on. My best guess, anyway.
Right.
Very brief and to the point, which I would also expect. And mine was anything but brief and to the point. So if you listen through all of those, you can kind of tell how the process went for the week. And it did lead to, on Saturday, the second argument we've ever had.
Yeah, in 9 years.
And it got really heated. And in hindsight, as we processed through that, it took us, from the time the argument started, it took about an hour to get to the other side.
Right.
Which, given the intensity of that argument, I think
it's pretty fantastic.
Pretty impressive.
Right.
And it happened while you were getting ready. I was already ready, but you were getting ready to go out with some friends of ours. We were all going on a four-way date. And so I thought instantly, like, well, there goes date night tonight.
Right. Yeah.
And for the second time in our life.
And I was like, I'm not canceling.
Well, yeah. And the reason I thought the date night would be over is I thought for sure you'd be out.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm still going out.
But in general, I'm going to try and just summarize the argument, and then April will correct me. And we'll, because we did, it's probably obvious if you listen to those videos, we were seeing things very differently.
Right. I do want to say I'm really proud of how I handled that argument to some regard. And I used some of the things that I learned in Expansive Connections boundaries course that we took. Because there was one point where I was like, look, I'm not going to say anything helpful or productive right now. I'm going to say mean things. So I need you to leave.
You were in the shower.
Yeah. And I was like, I need you to walk away, because nothing that comes out of my mouth right now is going to be helpful.
And so I did. But basically the argument was this. This was a big moment for us, or, it felt like that for me, because in all of the things we talked about in separate dating, this one was almost all of the hardest attributes of a second date for me to deal with, all rolled into one guy.
Right.
Other than the fact that it was no overnight allowed, but everything else was on the table. So anyway, it was a very emotional process for me. And as you said in one of your little videos, in situations like this, you try to completely put it on the back burner.
Right.
It's on not only on the front burner, it's on, like, if you have, it's on 3 front burners at once and on wide open high, and I'm trying to process it. And what I wanted was like an ongoing feed of communication.
Right.
But what I was worried about is if you weren't wanting, and you didn't really probably want to be doing that, because like you said in one of those videos, it was like it kind of just adds stress to your day to talk about it too much. And you're trying to put it on the back burner. And here I am wanting it on the front burner.
Right.
And the reason I didn't want to question you too much is because I didn't want you to feel like I was pressuring you to tell me how excited you are. Or, oh, I'm looking forward to it. And by Wednesday, I just really couldn't deal with my immaturity anymore. And so on the way to Pickleball, as we explained in one of those videos, I said, listen, I need some more communication about this. And you were very nice. You're like, yeah, I understand. That makes total sense. And I said, even if nothing's going on, which obviously there wasn't much messaging going on, I need to know that too, just to kind of fill me in. Well, here's where you have said you owned your blame in this, is from Wednesday on to Saturday, there was still no communication.
Yeah, I really didn't say anything.
Yeah, and so that felt a bit triggering for me.
Right.
I hate that word. It's getting.
I know.
It caused some emotions.
Right.
For me.
Sure.
And so I talked to a couple friends of ours because, again, I'm going through this process. Should I say anything? Should I not? Should I say anything? And in hindsight, I know where my mistake was.
Right.
And you highlighted this thoroughly. Look, you can't be scared to say anything to me. If it were to put pressure on me or anything like that, that's just how it has to be.
Yeah.
But you can't not communicate, because what I did, even on Wednesday when I told you I needed that more communication, what I didn't do, and I intentionally hid, was the intensity with which this whole process was, bothering.
Right. Yeah. So you didn't tell me the depths of like how you were feeling anxious. It was just kind of, it was a lighthearted conversation, which I should have put more stock in, and I should have taken that more serious and maybe asked some questions too. But like you said, it was way on the back burner to me. And so because I didn't know how deeply you were feeling this anxiety, because you told me later you weren't sleeping, you were having trouble eating. I didn't realize any of that because I was asking you every day, how'd you sleep last night? Oh, I slept good. You were really glazing over how you were feeling, and we were together 24/7, and there was no indication to me that you were smiling. We were joking. We saw a movie, we had sex. We were doing all the same things, and you weren't. So I saw on your phone that you had messaged one of our friends, hey, can I call you for a second? I really am having a hard time and I don't want to burden April with this. Well, that really triggered me.
Yeah.
Because that was Saturday.
Yeah, day before the day.
Wednesday, we had that conversation where you told me Thursday, Friday, Saturday really wasn't anything. And I was like, he feels like he can't talk to me now. Like, what happened? Yeah. And the reason that sparked my emotions so much was because in my past marriage, I always felt like I was the last one to know. Like, he wasn't going to share with me. He would talk to all his friends and his mother and everybody else about how he was feeling about our marriage, but he wouldn't talk to me about it. I would be the last one to know. And by the time I found out, it was too late.
Yeah. And instead of, the reason I was talking to that friend was not because I didn't feel like I could talk to you. It was actually quite the opposite. Right. It was because I was so desperate to talk about this constantly.
Right. But I should have been your person.
Right. Yeah. And I should have. That's what I should have done.
And not that I mind you talking to this friend, because I love all of our friends. You can talk to all of them. But like I said on Saturday, I'm your teammate. Yeah. So I need you to call me out when I'm not meeting the level of support that you need. But I was unaware of it because I didn't know the depth of how you were feeling.
Yeah, and I was trying to be the macho, supportive husband by not bringing added stress into an already stressful situation, because I didn't want to ruin it for you. I really didn't even know if you were looking forward to it.
And that's the thing. You said, I was just so afraid that you would cancel it based on how I was feeling. And I was like, well, of course I would. If I need all of the facts. I need full transparency on how you're feeling, or I cannot make an objective decision on how to proceed because you're my person.
Well, and that's where I went wrong. Right. I intentionally hid the depths of it. The reasoning was good, or not good necessarily, but it was
the intentions were kind.
It was kind. Right. I didn't want to put undue stress on you and make, because what I didn't want to have happen is you go, oh, this is just bothering Scott too much.
Right.
I love him so much. I just can't do this to him.
Right.
Because I needed to.
You wanted to
I
work
wanted to
through
work
that.
through this and see if this was a thing, because it feels like something that we can enjoy
Right.
and should be able to enjoy. And the times that I'm feeling a way about it is I feel like that like monogamous programming we grow up with,
Right.
and I can overcome it.
And that's the thing. You weren't wanting to work through this because you felt like I wanted you to. You were wanting to work through this because this is something that you want to work through. I'm not asking you to do something that you're uncomfortable with. Because there's a difference, there's some people that are like, I have to do this for my partner.
Oh no, right. No, the emotional work I was doing had almost nothing to do with you.
Right.
I felt like this is a thing that I can overcome.
Right.
But as our friend, I said in one of the videos, our friend said, you just need a few more reps.
Right.
I have to work through it. It's not something, you never know how you're going to feel in a situation until you're in that situation, even if you're confident you know how you're going to feel.
Right.
It could be completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't handle that well. And I realized that, I can't try to protect you by hiding you from or keeping you from how I'm really feeling.
Right. Right. And I compartmentalize everything. So I was, my boys have been a little more needy lately, and that we've got the grandbaby. And so I'm trying to, that whole week was really filled with a lot of business stuff and the household stuff, balancing stuff in the kids. And so all of that was on my front burner.
Yeah.
And so the date was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I wasn't putting a lot of emotional bandwidth into it.
And it's really how, you tend to deal with a lot of stuff that way. Like if there's a lot going on, your nose in the book,
right.
Let's get this done, get it done. And all superfluous stuff
falls
to the
away.
back.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
Right.
I would be a much more productive, successful person.
Why we balance each other out.
Because I just can't do it. Like I really almost did nothing all week long. I would get in front of my computer knowing I had a task that needed to get done, and I couldn't focus on it. It was like the worst ADHD week possible. And you can see the seeds of that argument in those videos.
Right.
You can see it building. Like I'm doing nothing but thinking about it. I could have done 20 more of those videos.
Right.
You're like, yeah, sounds good. I don't know. I may go, may not. And it just wasn't a big deal for you. So, all right. So just real quick, how'd the date come up?
So this is a guy that I connected with on Field over a year ago when we first opened Field to start separate dating. And we had messaged a little bit. He was super cute, good conversation, but he was looking for more of he's a submissive. He was looking for more of a dom submissive relationship. At the time, I didn't feel like I felt like that was a responsibility that may be too big for me, that I wasn't ready to handle. So I did some research. I did, some talking to some people who know about that type of relationship. And then when we opened our Field again, a few months ago, we connected again, but really didn't message still. And then, I guess it was last weekend, 2 weeks ago, he messaged me.
8 days ago.
Messaged me on Telegram. And I was like, I'm very curious about this. So for me, it was a different scenario than what I had intended to on separate dating. I wanted separate dating to find like maybe a romantic connection or like more of a sexual chemistry kind of thing. And so I went into this date thinking this is more of an experiment and to see if this is something that I would be into. Right. It just really piqued my curiosity.
Yeah. And I could tell you, so
because that's something I've always been. I think I would make a darling dom.
You said that. So we were actually house sitting for some friends. We like to do that. They have a dog and they have this house on the lake. It's just this great little sort of fake vacation we get to take. And he happened to message you on the Saturday night while we were out there.
Yeah.
And I remember that you said, oh, you made a noise and you were looking at your phone. I said, what's going on? And you go, and you didn't say anything. Yeah. You just turned and showed me the message.
Yeah.
And you kind of looked sheepishly like, what should I do? So I said in that moment, I said, here's what I ask. put away your people pleasing and worrying about my feelings. I want you to respond as if you were a single person, or respond
with no regard to your feelings.
With no regard to my feelings. Yeah. Just respond like with animal instinct here. Mm-hmm. And if during that, just keep me, I want to know what's going on. If I want to read it, I want to read it. Yeah. And if I have a problem with anything that begins to happen or develop, then we'll shut it down.
Yeah.
And instead, we ended up having sex while you messaged him that night.
Yeah.
And anytime you put your phone down because if something was feeling good,
you would say, I'm going to stop.
I would stop what I was doing. Yeah. And so we made a fun little game out of it. And during that sexual process, you agreed to a date.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right headspace to be in.
I think that's the perfect headspace to be in. But I love that. There was something about that just really turned you on.
Yeah. We've had one other kind of experience like that where we were messaging out, but that one was a guy that you had
he was like across the country.
Yeah, there was no shot you were going out with him, and we just played around with it. This was a real thing. And so, now all of a sudden that was on the table and it was coming quick.
Yeah.
And we had 8 days. This wasn't like 2 months off.
Right.
So we heard a little bit about those videos. There's not much there, and maybe there wasn't much else to tell, but how were you emotionally through the week? You said in one of your videos, like you made a video of yourself driving there last night, and you're like, I'm excited, which is the first time.
Right, yeah.
The first time you had used that word.
That was...
You never used that word.
Yeah, no,
the
that
first
was
time I heard that word was in that video.
First time I was excited. Because we didn't have a lot of conversation, a lot of messaging, him and I didn't, which I like because I get bored very easily. Yeah. And so I don't like to do a lot of messaging. I'd rather just get direct to the point. Let's set a date. But even he was very laid back and he's very smart, like in his messaging, very kind, very smart. And so we didn't.
He's not blasting you with dick pics.
Yes.
Do you like anal?
And so the less we messaged, the more intrigued I got. Like, I have so many questions and I don't want to ask all during the messaging because if we do meet, I want to save some stuff, to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, even yesterday, he was going to go out for his birthday or something. And at the beginning,
day before yesterday.
Yeah, Saturday when we set the date, he said.
By the way, for those, this is Monday. We're recording this. She had the date on Sunday night.
I got home this morning at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So a week ago when we set the date, he said it's my birthday week. The night before our date, I'm going to be going out with a bunch of friends. I'm hoping I won't be too hungover and feel yucky. And I was like, look, I'm flexible. If you need to cancel. I like to give people an out because I don't mind when people cancel plans. I'm like, I will stay in and put my pajamas on.
Oh, that stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I would almost rather stay home. So I was giving them out. I'm like, that's fine. If you're not feeling well, we can reschedule. Our schedule's flexible. I knew he worked from home. So I'm like, it's cool. Well, so yesterday morning, I think he messaged at like 11. He's like, I was up till 6. I'm going to lay back down and take a nap. And I'm like, okay, just let me know when and where we should meet.
Yeah. So this is 11 a.m. the day of the date.
Right.
And you still don't know where you're meeting, when you're meeting.
Right. Well, we had an area. We knew we were going to meet halfway, which is at about an hour drive for each of us. Yeah. Okay. So I know, okay, well, I'm going to have to drive an hour. Well, so at 4, I still hadn't heard from him. So I'm like, I told you, I'm like, I think he's going to cancel. I'm going to go to the gym. Still hadn't showered or anything. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym. So I go to the gym. You had pickleball.
Yep.
You were like, I said, I'm going to try to come to your pickleball then. We'll leave at 5:30. I'm at the gym. He finally messaged at like 4:45.
Okay.
And I didn't see it though until like right after 5. And I screenshotted it and sent it to you. I'm like, well, he just messaged, should I go? And honestly, I was hoping you would go, no, just come with me to pickleball because I'm sitting there drenched in sweat in the gym. And I'm like, he said something like, I can be there by 7. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, well, it's almost 5:30 now. I still have to go home and shower.
At the gym.
Yeah. I'm still have to go home and shower. And then it's an hour drive. The town that we were meeting in, it was a Sunday night. Everything closed at 9. And so I'm like, I don't know if this is even going to be worth it, my time. So you were like, just go. And I was like,
no. Well,
you were like,
yeah.
What'd you say?
I said, you're asking me my personal preference I've put a lot of emotional work into this week. I didn't say
No,
that.
here, I will read your
text.
message so you don't add stuff to it.
Yeah, I was adding my own thoughts there.
Yeah, I'd prefer that you go, but this isn't my date. Ultimately, I want you to do what you want to do.
Yeah, because ultimately what I wanted is for you to not ask me what you should do.
Right. So I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going. So I finished at the gym, ran home, and told him, I'm like, I can be there by like 7:15, which is unrealistic for me because that would have only given me 30 minutes to get
By the way, if she ever gives anybody a time for anything, just know it's not likely that that's when she's going to show up.
And so I like didn't wash my hair, took a shower real quick, which this is my ideal date. I find out last minute. I don't have time to think about what I'm going to wear. Like perfect scenario for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to get in my head. I was like, go, 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 go. Got to hurry up, get ready, throw on some clothes, get there.
Yeah. And it was the worst case for me.
Right.
And we're going to get into a lot more of this stuff, but this is the guy's 6'5", which I know is a big turn on for you, the tall guy like that. Good looking guy. He's a very successful, we found out, a very successful business guy. And I don't know him at all.
Right.
So I have no information to base any level of trust or feeling of security.
Right.
He's a single guy, so he's also not connected to somebody, right. So it's everything that is the worst case scenario for me,
right.
all rolled into
Safety wise, you had his picture,
yes.
the address of where I was going. You have my phone on Life 360. We had check-ins.
Yeah.
I texted you when I got there. Texted you during the date. You called me during the date. Yeah. So we did have safety measures. I was never alone, like in a car with him.
Yeah, it's a great setup for you. Not the best
right,
for me.
Yeah.
But that was also one of the reasons I wanted to go through it.
Yeah.
I needed to process through it. We had friends saying, hey, look, man, come over here tonight.
Yeah.
We can keep your mind occupied. But even that, I really didn't want to have to do that. I did have a pickleball match scheduled, which was kind of nice, but honestly, the pickleball match ended up because you were so late with your date getting started. My pickleball match ended
when mine was.
Yeah,
the date
your
was
date
starting,
was just getting
much,
started.
Yeah.
So then I had to go home, and I wanted to go home and just kind of be alone.
Yeah.
All right. So, but right before you left, you sent me some pictures of what you had on.
Yeah.
And asked if that looked okay. Was that? Do you get turned on by sending me that? Or was that just for information purposes?
No, that was legitimately, I wanted to know if my shoes looked dumb.
Which is exactly what I told you. You didn't ask me, do these shoes look dumb? You
said, I know.
And I said, I don't
I know. That was, you were like, I don't like the shoes. You have really good taste.
In shoes.
Yeah.
For some reason.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. These shoes look dumb. In hindsight, I should have just worn shorts and my Chucks or something.
Well, you look good. You had an ridiculously short mini skirt on.
Yeah.
With no underwear.
Right.
And a shirt on that made it wildly obvious that you had no bra on.
Yeah, well, I don't ever wear a bra unless it's a sports bra.
You're on your date, and you've sent me now a few texts saying things are really good. We had done our little check-in with the code word, and you'd given me the okay. And you sent me a few messages that said things like, this is really fun. He's very smart. Things are going good. You'd really like him.
Yeah.
Similar sense of humor, some things like messages like that. Why were you sending me those things? Just out of curiosity. What was your thought process?
I genuinely, and I told him this several times, you've got to meet my husband because I think you guys would be fast friends. Like seriously, talking about he grew up very religious and he's kind of deconstructed his belief system. And he is the kind of smart that you are. Like he remembers things. And I'm like, you've got to talk to my husband.
I remember things.
Well, like you can read a book and quote a paragraph out of that book the next day.
I think you've mythologized my intelligence.
And so, yeah, we just had really good conversation. And I don't know, you're a part of every conversation I have.
Well, so you get there. And was he in the restaurant waiting on you?
No. So I ended up having to stop for gas. And so I stopped for gas and I'm like, my GPS has me there at 7:30. He's like, perfect. Mine too. So I'm like, oh, good. We're both late. So
maybe this really is the perfect dash.
And I stopped at Buc-ee's and I almost went in and got you some fudge. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to be really fucking late if I go get him fudge. So I got there at the restaurant. When I pulled in, I think I saw him pulling in. I'm like, should I wait in the parking lot? I'm like, no, I'm just going to go in and get a table. So I got a table and then he came in. And he was much cuter in person.
Okay.
I mean, he was cute in his picture. But he sat down, and I don't remember what he said at first, but he just started right away with like really quick and witty banter.
Okay, well, I was going to ask, what were your initial physical opinion? I mean, were you attracted to him? You
Oh
see he
yeah,
was good looking?
yeah. I was like, I'm so glad I decided to follow through with this.
Like instantly, just from seeing him?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I talked about this last night, how you can tell me some things, like the single piece of information like that makes me happy and also nauseous at the same time. No, but that's good.
He just had a great smile, and the conversation was just easy, which, I can get awkward in situations and get in my head. Like, he would make a joke and I would make a joke, like at his expense, and he took it really well. And, the waiter kept coming back to take our order, and we hadn't even looked at the menu. Like, the waiter came back like 3 or 4 times, and the conversation was just flowing so easily that I was just really pleasantly surprised.
So did you feel like, you said you were instantly attracted to him. Did you get butterflies? Was there instant chemistry?
Yeah, I got really nervous.
That is extremely rare for you.
Yeah.
Like I could count on one hand.
Well, there's still,
or if it's ever happened.
It was still weird. I've never been in a dom submissive role. I'm not sure what I'm feeling chemistry wise. I know this is a guy that I could hang out with in my everyday life as a friend. Like, cause he's super funny. I was like, he would love all of our friends. Like, this guy needs to come to some of our events because he'd be a blast to party with and hang out with. And so that was the kind of feeling. It was still at that point, maybe wasn't a sexual chemistry, but it was just like, this is our people. Like, he would fit in with our community so well.
So was there flirting right away, or did that slowly?
Yeah, there wasn't, I don't know that there was like overt flirting right away. There was just a lot of questioning. At one point he said, so,
did he know about Naughty Jim?
No, okay. He said, I thought you were kind of too good to be true. He was like, so I Googled you. And I was like, oh, fuck. Because I've not Googled myself. I'm like, there's no telling what comes up if you
probably do that.
But also I was like, well, he doesn't have my name. So how did he Google me? But then on Telegram, I'm April Naughty Jim. So he probably just Googled April Naughty Jim. And what came up was the USA Today article. So he was asking, like, was that a good article, or was that something that they did without you knowing? Did it out you? What happened? So he asked about us getting outed, and I, told him a little history about my parents passing and stuff like that. And he just was very curious too about our lifestyle and what we do, and fascinated by it. He was like, I just think it's so cool. But when he said that first, I was really nervous, because I was like, this could either be bad or good. Like, that he Googled and found out, like, is he not going to like that? But yeah, he did.
So he made it apparent that he was comfortable. I mean,
right.
Because even though he didn't know about Naughty Jim, he knew you're married. He knew.
Right. And he knows about the poly world and swinging. And I mean, obviously he's been into BDSM for years. And so he's not, like, that wasn't off-putting.
Yeah. Okay. Whether at any point during the dinner, and we'll get to the minute you guys eventually make your way over to a bar, but at dinner, I'm assuming you probably sat across from each other.
We did. Uh-huh.
But there was no way to touch.
No, we weren't really touching or anything. No, it was just really genuine conversation. He shared a lot about his life. I shared, kind of our story and stuff. And it was just it just flowed really easily.
And so the dinner portion was really just you guys getting to know each other and establishing initial kind of connection.
Right. Yeah. Kind of yeah. And we closed the restaurant down. It closed at 9. We were the last ones there. We were like, now what? Do we go somewhere else? Where else is there to go? And
don't brush over that. Was that awkward? Was there how do I say I'd like to continue this night?
No, he just said, if we can find a bar open, would you like to go to a bar? And I was like, sure, if there's anything open around here. Because it was like a podunk town on Sunday night. Yeah. The kind of place where when I walked into that restaurant, everybody turned and looked, and it was like, she ain't from around here. Like that kind of. And he felt the same way, because he's 6'5", and he's like, I think people can tell we're not from here. Well, so we found this little bar that was 7 minutes away that was open till 11. And so I was like, well, I'll follow you. I told you we were headed to a different place.
Yeah.
I think I called you on the way there.
You did, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. You had called me during dinner and I talked to you during dinner. And then I called you in the car on the way there. And it was a 7-minute quick drive. When we pulled up to this bar, I audibly laughed out loud to myself because this was the shittiest little hole in the wall bar. But
at least it was open. If you'd been in Decatur, there's nothing open.
Right.
On Sunday night.
Well, and we've had some of the best times at little shitty hole in the wall bars. So I'm like, this could be the best or the worst time. Like we're either walking in, the KKK is going to be in here, or because it was like that kind of, and it wasn't far off from that. We walked in and you could smell the smoke, cigarette smoke, before you even opened the door. So we walked in. Oh, no, as we're walking to the door, and there's no lights, it's real dark. And I'm like, is this like a biker bar? A guy is standing by his truck and he's like, hey, y'all want some maters?
Maters? Did y'all buy maters on your date?
We were like,
it's like, I can deal with a lot of shit, but if you're mater shopping with your first date, I don't know.
Well, he thought they asked if we wanted to buy bait for fishing. And so we were both kind of like, no thanks, we're good. So we opened the door and there's 8 people sitting around a little bar, all of them smoking, all of them about 103 years old, and all of them just going to town on some watermelon with their Bud Light beers.
Watermelon? Like
yeah, like they were just like, yeah, like it was like a family reunion. But there's like big Trump flags all over the walls, a few pool tables. Marge is sitting at the counter, like chain smoking, like she lives there.
Yeah, I can see this whole place.
Yeah, but they were super friendly. Like they were like, come on in. It was like walking into a family reunion where they're like, oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Come on in, have a seat. It was a beer only bar, and I don't drink beer. So she was like, we went to order a drink, and
did you drink at dinner?
I had a margarita, but it wasn't good, so I didn't finish it. I said, I'll have a tequila soda, and she's like, oh no, we only have beer, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to order. I haven't drank beer in years. So we both ordered like a twisted tea or something. And he said, do y'all have an outside patio? And I'm like, oh, that good thinking. So we don't have to like breathe the smoke and stuff. And they did. So we got our drinks and went around back of the bar and sat. There was like some picnic tables under this little awning.
So you were the only ones.
Yeah.
So there was, okay. So you're outside.
Yeah.
By yourself.
With our twisted tea and the smell of smoke in my hair.
Had you had conversations at dinner about the Dom sub stuff?
Not a lot at dinner.
Okay, so that's going to pick up.
So that picked up, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
So you go out and you have this nice private, it's a picnic table you're saying?
Yeah.
Did you sit next to each other?
We did, yeah.
Okay, so now you're close physically. Here comes the waves of nausea again. So how soon into this seating arrangement did one or both of you put your hands on the other?
He, while he was talking, would sometimes like touch my hand, or I would sometimes touch his hand.
Yeah.
It was really towards
you did that move where you laugh.
Yeah, laugh and lean into
touch.
Yeah.
Seen that one.
It was probably, I would say, the last maybe 30 minutes that we had both kind of like turned into each other, and he put his hand on my leg for an extended period of time. Okay. But it still wasn't like cringy. It wasn't like gropey or anything. It was just very sweet, and
which is the way you like it.
Yeah.
You don't like the.
He was just a gentleman. He's very kind.
Because a surefire way to turn you off is to be overtly sexual throughout a conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was just he's like, do you have any questions for me? Because he's a talker, which I like. But he also is a very smart conversationalist.
So where did the conversation start?
So most of the conversation we had out there was kind of talking about his history. We asked each, what our fantasies are, what he has and hasn't had experience with. He has a very interesting story. I'm not going to go into the details publicly because I don't want to do that to him, but I obviously will share those with you. But very interesting history.
Okay, wait a minute, before we get into his stuff, did you share fantasies with him?
Just as far as things that I would like to maybe experience in the Dom sub realm.
Like, what did you tell him?
Well, I'm not going to go into that on the podcast.
Why?
Because I'll share that with you.
Well, the people were not.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay.
Maybe one day I will.
I'll come back on here and add a little addendum to this later, folks.
All right. Well, I love pegging. Okay. I like to peg you.
Yeah.
I love wearing a strap on. So we talked a little bit about that. How, I've said before, if somebody told me you only get to choose one sexual experience for the rest of your life, and that is what you have to do. You can't masturbate. You can't have orgasm. Like, you have to choose one thing. I would choose pegging.
Really?
I absolutely love it. It makes me drip. It's
so
unreal.
How did he respond to that?
He was like, "You're too good to be true," because he likes to be pegged.
Well, I agree with him on that. We do share that in common. Had you had any conversations about the details of like, this is what I want from you?
Like what a scene would be? No. I mean, he did talk about how, he wants it. Any subdom experience should be mutually beneficial for both people, not just like what the sub wants or what. And so he talked about like a relationship that he's had in the past with another dom, or a relationship he had, where he started to feel like maybe she was doing things for him because that's what he wanted and not necessarily what she was enjoying. She was just doing it, for him.
Right.
And he was like, I don't want that type of relationship. I want, the dom to be getting as much enjoyment out of it as I'm getting, which I'm like, yeah, me too.
Because you did know, maybe not to in any great detail, but you knew that this wasn't just, it's a fairly aggressive, submissive nature.
Right.
He wants some of the degradation,
right,
and things like that.
Well, and it's not necessarily, and we talked about this too, having sex with me. Because sometimes that can cross over and kind of murky the waters in a dom sub relationship if you're actually having sex with your sub.
And we've talked to doms who, people pay them to be their dom and they never have sex.
Right.
But just to interrupt, would that disappoint you?
No.
If you never had sex with him?
Yeah. In fact, that is what I knew going into this. And that's what I was saying, that this is probably not going to be the sexual chemistry, like a sex date where I'm looking to have sex with this guy.
No. I don't mean, well, maybe I don't think I asked that question.
Would I have sex with him? Yeah.
Right. What I'm asking is intermixed into whatever dom sub stuff you may experience later with him. Would you prefer that it also at least occasionally have sex?
I don't think so. I can't say one way or the other. I would be fine if it didn't, and I would be okay if it did.
Okay.
But that's not a requirement for...
Interesting.
Yeah. And that surprised me too, because I would be fine. Like I said, I would be fine never having sex again if I could just peg you for the rest of your life.
God, that's so weird. I mean, I'm glad that you like that. It's funny. I still feel it can sometimes feel emasculating to talk about it, but I'm just talking about it.
Yeah. And that's,
you don't ever make me feel that way.
I think that is still the thing that surprises me the most, is that even him coming in and talking about him being in this submissive role, it's not emasculating to me. To me, that is such a sexy quality a man can have, to say, this is what I enjoy, and I want to just give in to my own fantasies and my own pleasure and embrace it. And this is part of what I like. I find that so incredibly sexy.
Well, did the conversation at the bar, in the private behind the building picnic table that y'all were sitting at by yourself, was that the focus for the bulk of that time, was talking about the dom sub and fantasies and stuff?
Yeah.
So how did that conversation,
So he started telling me about one of his fantasies, and could feel myself getting wet.
Oh, you can't tell the fantasy.
And no, and he was like, "You're getting really quiet. What are you thinking?" And I was like, "I am so turned on right now." Like, I and I'm like, "I don't want you to feel like anything you're saying, like I'm judging you," or he got really, he goes, "I'm going to tell you," because I said, "Can you share something with me that you have wanted to do but you haven't done?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, that one's kind of embarrassing." I was like, "No, I want the embarrassing ones too." And he was like, "Okay, I've only told like maybe one or two other people this." And so he told me one of them, and I was like, I was just getting so turned on with his raw honesty and just trust, I guess, that he was trusting to share that with me. Um, it was incredibly sexy.
Maybe I can ask it this way. Was there, because I'm curious about this and I want the details, but was there in that fantasy that he chose to share that he felt embarrassed about? First of all, you're fantastic at doing what you just said you did, which is making people feel comfortable and safe to share that kind of
Right.
stuff. Was this a fantasy that had an element of degradation in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
And
he's
that turns you
into
on
degradation
because
and
we've never
humiliation
done that with each other. I don't really. That's just not something I'm
that you're
interested
into,
in.
right?
If you would have asked me beforehand, would being a dominatrix that is being degrading turn you on? I would have guessed no.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have been sure.
Yeah. Well, one of the fantasies that he has is something that I've fantasized about you, in that situation where you're just getting used.
Oh yeah, that's not my fantasy.
Right.
That's just yours.
And that's one of his fantasies. And I was like, "Oh my God."
Used by other men?
Women.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'd take that.
Well,
fantasy.
just, yeah. Oh.
So the fantasy was being pegged by a bunch of, okay. Well, so you're having all these highly sexually charged conversations. Mm-hmm. And at some point you said the touching got more intense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just not intense. He just kind of kept his hand on my leg. And then, that was while we were sitting outside, that was all, like we weren't like doing really any other. I put my hand on his at one point, and at like 11, like everybody started to leave the bar. So we were like, maybe we should go there. He had to close out his tab.
Yeah. I would like to interrupt here and say, you told me on the way to the bar that it closes at 11.
Yeah.
So for every minute on the minute from 11 to when you left, I kept looking at Life 360 and I was like, either she was wrong about when the bar closed or they're just hanging out in the parking lot.
Well, at one point we were sitting out there. One of the guys that was inside the bar came out, and he was clearly inebriated and he had some rocks in his hand. And he goes, "Have y'all ever seen anything like this?" And I was like, "What?" And I guess they were like arrowheads or something that he had found. And he wanted to know if we knew anything about arrowheads, and just the way it was
look, we're talking about chains and fucking right now. I don't care about you.
It was just like something, it felt like something out of like Sweet Home Alabama. Like, just, you got a baby in a bar.
All right. So the bar shuts down.
Yeah.
And you guys know it's closed.
Yeah.
What was the decision like?
So yeah, I was like, well, I guess it's time to go. So I stood up. He went and closed his tab. And
oh, wait a minute, no, I thought the bar closed at 11.
Yeah, we closed at 11. Probably 11:15 is when everybody started to leave the inside. We heard cars leaving, and so we got up and he went in. We went in and closed his tab, and then he walked me. We were parked next to each other. Walked me to the car.
All right, so but there's a big gap of time here. So somewhere in there, like
no, there's really not, because I left the bar at 11 something.
Wasn't 11:15.
Oh, 11:50. Yeah, so maybe we did talk later.
Okay, so you get
maybe 11:30.
So where did this final conversation happen? Were you standing at the car talking?
Yeah, we stood at the car.
Stood at the car.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me how that whole thing went.
So,
and by this time, by all accounts, this thing has gone way better than you anticipated.
Yeah.
And I would say it sounds like it went really well.
Yeah, it went really well.
Okay, so how did it end?
So I gave him a hug goodbye, and then...
Wait a minute. You just skipped right to the end. You just skipped 30 minutes of conversation or something.
Yeah, we stood there. What were we? I don't remember what we were talking about. at the car so much. We're just kind of like wrapping things up and, you know, really like to see you again. Um, and then he kissed me.
Okay.
He was a really good kisser.
So how long did that go on?
Maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah. So he kissed me and then like slowly like ran his hand up my skirt and I was dripping.
Okay. So, and then how, like, what was he doing? I mean, he was touching you?
Oh yeah.
Did you come?
No.
Did you get close? Was it
No,
long enough
but
that you...
I was really turned on. I probably could have if I wasn't in the parking lot and like worried about Barnaby coming out of the bar.
Somebody showing you some more rocks or maters. So he's out there, you're kissing, and at the same time, he's got his hand up your skirts, and you're just loving every minute of it.
Oh yeah.
I know there was not well, I mean, unless you call that sex, but this was a highly unsexed date.
Right.
Although I had told you sex was on the table,
Yeah.
if you wanted, you kept reiterating that's not what this is
Yeah.
about. This is an interview process, sort of. And but it was on the table. The only rule I had was I didn't want to spend the night. I wanted you to come home. I didn't feel like I was ready for that. And that you have wanted this separate dating experience.
Right.
You know, this has been a year in the making because you felt like that it would allow you to stop focusing on the concerns of the other woman, my concerns, you know, and all the other moving parts that come with a attempted foursome.
Right.
And that you thought it might be better for you that way. Do you, after having that experience, do you feel like that is one of your favorite things you've ever done, or?
I don't know if I can say favorite. It was a really good experience. It's still a different experience than what I intended separate dating to be. But he's such a great guy. Like I said, I feel like it's been a great connection to have and somebody that would be fantastic in our community. I feel like he could be a really good friend of ours.
Would you want that? Let's say, I know this, we haven't even gotten to where this may ultimately be going, but let's just say that you guys end up dating 15 times over the next year and a half.
Yeah.
He now becomes a part of your life and tangentially a part of my life.
Right.
Would you like for a boyfriend to hang out with me or our closest friends?
I don't know that. If in a dom sub relationship, is that a boyfriend? I don't think so.
Whatever it is, I don't know. Yeah, I just threw a word out.
Yeah, I would.
Interesting. And why? Because, and the reason I asked this is because, and I may be wrong about this, I don't think you would want that with a girl I'm dating.
No.
If I had somebody else dating.
Mostly because I think even if I said to him, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want a dom sub relationship. I just want to be friends. I think you would be really good friends with him.
Well, yeah, but that's not, okay, fine. But assuming that you're in this ongoing dating situation with him and having sex or whatever you guys, or whatever you're doing to him. But that's the thing that I think you would not want if I was dating a girl.
If she was a cool girl, I just don't know that.
Yeah, because you have said that you're like one of your number one priorities, you didn't want to know her.
Right. Yeah. It's weird that when I think about you going on a date, I feel like you don't have a good red flag radar or crazy radar. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, I really don't want to know her because I have a feeling she might bring some crazy into our lives. But that's another reason why I would like you to go out with a girl who's married so that she's got an anchor to keep her stable.
Obviously, I disagree with you that I can't see red flags, but what I will not argue about, because I'm right, is that once it becomes apparent, if somebody I was dating started to bring negativity or challenge into my life, they will be going in a heartbeat because I have my person. I don't need another relationship.
Right. Yeah.
I would enjoy this experience that you had, but I don't need it so bad that I'm going to put up with a whole bunch of weird shit. All right. So you're out there on the side of the road at a biker bar, getting finger banged up against your car.
Well, he never entered. He was just kind of rubbing.
How did that end? What's next? What was the conversation?
So we kind of made a few little jokes, little banter afterwards, and
like what?
We both ended it
That seems like a weird way to end a finger banging session with jokes.
Right. I know. It was just so easy. We were both just said, we'd really like to see each other again and, take this into the Dom sub role.
And so how would that proceed? First of all, did you...
And I actually said at one point, I think Scott could get really creative in helping me figure out some scenes that I could do with him.
Scott probably could. I'm not sure Scott's ready for that. To help you set up your sex adventures with your date.
I think he would enjoy some of the stuff we talked about.
Oh, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to... I mean, like, it was hard when you sent me that picture of you. Hey, does this what I'm wearing look good?
Yeah.
I'm like, God, put on a sweatshirt or something. Yeah, but it's the two sides. Like, I'm turned on by you doing this whole thing, but I'm also,
yeah.
So, all right. But what I'm trying to get at is, did you say, I want to see you again?
Yes.
And you put a date together?
No, we did not put a date together.
Why?
Because I hadn't talked to you.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking. Did you feel like,
yeah.
Did you tell him I need to talk to Scott?
Yeah. Of course. You were a main thread through our entire, all of our conversations.
Well, that's not what I don't need that. I mean, I guess I appreciate that in some weird way, but, so you definitely were excited about going out again.
Right.
And experimenting the next time.
Right.
With this dominatrix role.
Yeah.
And he said yes.
Yeah.
So how would that process happen?
I don't know. We'll have to talk about it.
Are you going to sign some forms? Like
no.
50 Shades of Grey?
No.
You might have to. How are you going to know?
No, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
So yeah, that was...
I handle this like I handle everything. I don't know. I hadn't put that much thought into it. It was, I'd really like to see you again. Yes, I'd really like to see you again. Let's make that happen. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
So there was a little kiss goodbye again?
Yeah.
How long was that one?
I mean, we probably kissed for a total of 5 minutes.
And on the way back, did he message you?
Yeah.
What did he say?
That he had a great time. He hadn't laughed that much in a while. And
then has he messaged you today?
No, he has not.
He just sent you one message when you left last night?
No, he sent a couple messages. He said he was going to follow me out to because it's some back roads. And he said, I hope you made it out to the main road okay. I was going to follow you out, but because I didn't like you being by yourself on those back roads. And I thought that was really sweet.
Well, interesting. Yeah, I still have a lot of questions about more details that you're not willing to say on the podcast.
Yeah, you'll get all the details. You'll get all the details.
A lot to talk about. And so obviously this was a great experience for you. Yeah. And it's something you want to continue. And I have the emotional journey I've gone on through this happened in a different way than I really anticipated. I've always thought that I wanted to read every message that you had and I want to know the guy and all this kind of stuff. That was the first go around. And I realized I didn't really like reading the messages. Or it doesn't bother me to read the messages. I don't like seeing the notification. Like, in other words, we have a group chat and the notifications are dinging throughout the day. I just didn't love that. And this time I legitimately have not read a single message.
But maybe you should have, because maybe that would have prevented you from spiraling so far.
Maybe. I don't know what those conversations looked like. I kind of have an idea, but I haven't read them. And I don't know. And I said in one of our preliminary videos, it almost feels like I'm reading somebody's journal.
Well, here's the thing. If I was in your shoes, there is no way I'm hiding that. I'm reading every message. You're going to know exactly how I feel every step of the way.
By the way, if you're interested, I still don't have a date.
But we have a full transparency policy. You have access to my phone. I have access to your phone. There's no hidden messages. On most social media, we're joint as far as we both have the login. We're both logged into each other's Instagram accounts, our business accounts,
right. And
our email.
It's not like you've said, hey, I'd rather not read my messages. Right. You've been very open, read them whenever you want. I just, surprisingly to myself, have not. I mean, there's an element of curiosity, sure, but I don't really have this huge desire to read them. I want to not read them.
Right.
And I don't want my curiosity to get the best of them.
Yeah.
I don't know why that feels like a weakness.
Yeah.
But I don't. I feel like if I read them, I'd be giving in to an emotion.
See, I don't have that.
And I want you to read if I had messages.
I will give into every emotion.
And I know that you don't care if I read the messages. You wouldn't have a problem with that. But,
it's so funny how we handle things differently. And let's talk about, so when I got home last night, I expected you to be asleep. And
I wasn't even close to asleep.
Yeah. So I got home and I came upstairs and we weren't talking about it. You just asked, did you have a good time? Yeah, I had a good time. And then,
well, let me say, I didn't really have to ask a lot of questions. I think you are not as aware of how obvious whatever emotional state you're in is on your face. But I could tell when you walked in, that the date at least went fairly well.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I think you could tell also because you stood up, you got out of bed and gave me a hug and we started kissing and then you felt my pussy.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew it was wet already. I was like, I don't think I did that too quickly.
And then we had really amazing sex.
Yeah. And it was also hard because I was wanting to ask so many questions and we were getting so turned on by the whole thing. And, but we avoided that temptation.
Yeah, but
there was a couple of comments like, do you like that I'm already wet for you because he got me wet or something like that?
Yeah.
And then,
that was really sexy.
It was on after that.
Yeah.
I was trying to hurt you. I couldn't. But...
Oh, it felt so good though. That was the highlight of the night. Just that reconnecting and
it's funny.
Intimacy.
I don't think I get, maybe I will at some point. I don't think I get turned on. I know a lot of guys have this hot wifing fantasy where they send their wife out, they have sex, and then they talk about it and fuck and maybe even watch a video of it. I definitely do not want that.
Right.
I don't want a video of it.
Right.
I guess there's a part of me that wishes I would eventually get there. Mm-hmm. It's not that for me. The thing that I love most about this is the empowerment I get of the feeling of giving you something in your life that probably sounds stupid, ridiculous, and scary to most everybody in the world, but it's something that we can do and experience together and grow from.
Right.
And it brings up a great question. It was obvious listening to some of those videos, probably of me, especially how difficult this emotional process can be. Mm-hmm. And we have such a great relationship. Why would we do something like this? And, I'd be curious to hear your answer because it's something I can tell you want to do again and you want to do it again with this guy.
Yeah.
Why?
It's fun. It's just such a different experience than I have with you. Right. So we'll do some like dom sub type stuff, but that's not your preference. And I love that role. Maybe
it's just you realize.
Yeah.
But do you feel like there's any risk? Because this is the type of question, if I'm a monogamous person hearing this, you guys seem to have a great relationship. This obviously brings an element of risk into it. I mean, you're out with a guy potentially down the road doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And feelings can and likely would develop. Why take that risk?
Yeah. Here's the thing. When I was talking to him, the whole time I'm thinking, do I know any women that I could hook this guy up with? Like, he's such a great guy. I'm not at all thinking this is a guy that I want this guy to be. I don't want him to be my boyfriend in that sense. I want to have some fun sexual encounters with him as far as like the dom sub and like live out some of that stuff. But not when I talk about sex, I'm not even talking about intercourse, like penetrative sex with penetrating me.
You're not saying that would be a bad thing.
No, but that's not what I think either one of us are, he or I are looking for in this. But I'm like, who can I hook him up with? Because this is a really great guy and some girl would love to be, and he was expressing, he's like, it's just really difficult for me to meet a girl who is so open-minded, and he's like, what you and your husband have is ideal. You know, you both met and you started your relationship non-monogamous. And he was like, it's just really difficult to find that dynamic in a woman who isn't going to be jealous or feel threatened or embarrassed by, you know, my fantasies or what I enjoy. And that's a difficult thing.
Yeah, it's hard to, you're right. You're going to get something from him that you're not going to get from me. And it's not just the dumb sub stuff, but he's physically bigger. He's a different, you know, he's going to have a different personality, even if there's some similarities. So you do get a different feeling from a different person. And, you know, that's what excites me too about eventually going out with somebody, is to try to find a little bit different flavor of connection. Why this is a positive for me, though, is because I feel no threat that I'm going to lose you.
Yeah.
And while I want somebody that I can have some kind of separate dating experience with too, and I do want the emotional connection within that relationship, I got one person that I'm living my life with. Everything else is icing on a very nice cake. And I don't have room in the fridge for another cake, but maybe just a little more icing.
Well, and the thing is, if this guy tomorrow said to me, I never want to see you again, I would be like, okay.
Maybe mildly disappointing, but just mildly.
I'd be like, all right, I hope you have a nice life, and I wish nothing but the best for you. And me and you are going to continue living our life blissfully happy.
Well, all right. It's we've got some more conversation we're going to have as soon as this is over, and probably have sex while we're doing it. But I'm happy that you did this, and I'm glad that even though it wasn't emotionally easy for me the whole time, I feel good about it. And that's what I was hoping for.
Well, I appreciate your support and the way that you love me through this and make space for me and allow me to grow and experience things apart from you and together with you. That's a very special and unique thing. And I know we'll have comments like, you're playing with fire, and I've done, you know, me and my wife did this and it didn't turn out right. But I always come back to, we don't own each other. I don't own you. You don't own me. I don't have the rights to you. You have full autonomy over your choices, your body, the way you live. We just choose to fill each other in and lean on each other on this journey of life. If you were going to leave me, you're going to leave me. You know, if somebody better came along that was better suited for you, would it hurt? Of course. Do I ultimately want you to be happy no matter what you're doing? Of course. And so I think that for me allows me to be more open-minded and feel less anxiety about separate dating and non-monogamy, and there's no ownership in this.
Yeah. But it may be more difficult than you think when it happens with me.
Oh, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure I'm going to go through the emotional roller coaster. But it's a part of the process. We did when we first started non-monogamy. There was a lot of emotions and scary things. And I can't look at the ending, that we got to take one step at a time, process through that. When you find somebody that you go on your first separate date with, if I was to go, what if he falls in love with her? What if this? What if that? What if that? Would cause my brain to spin out. And so I'll handle it like I handle everything else.
Don't talk about
It'll go on the back burner and I'll deal with what's in front of me. And anything else is on the back burner. And then, you know, you just confront things as they come up. I don't have to have the answers ahead of time.
Well, I'm proud of us. I'm glad that went well for you. And I just hope the next time it's a little easier on me.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys listening through. This has been a long podcast. And, feel free to, if you have questions about any of this type of stuff, we're not psychiatrists, we're not therapists, but, we have a lot of experience in certain areas, and we're always glad to listen and answer questions to the best of our ability, or refer you to somebody that we trust can answer your questions. Also, if any of this is helpful to you, just our trying to be transparent about our journey and our relationship, please do us a favor. We don't ask for money on these podcasts, obviously, but it would help us if you would click like or subscribe, if you're on YouTube or the podcast.
And leave us a review.
Leave us a review. All of that stuff helps spread, our episodes out to different faces.
And if you're looking for a community, you join our online platform, naughtygym.com. It's $19 a month, but the value you get access to a community that is going to support you on your journey, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's non-monogamy, whatever that journey is, we are there to support you. So naughtygym.com, sign up today.
And remember
to never stop playing.
And we're about to go fun.